There are few truths more powerful and few journeys more harrowing than the one taken by the soul that chooses to love like Christ. You chose the harder road. You loved when it hurt. You forgave when it cost. You bore burdens that were not yours, carried crosses you could have walked away from, and wept in silence so others could rejoice in peace. The world did not applaud, but heaven leaned in. You loved like Jesus. And now, just as surely as the stone rolled away, you are about to rise like him. Let me speak to your spirit, not your weariness, not your doubts, but to the still, steady flame that has never gone out. Let me remind you what that flame means. Love, true love, is never content with comfort. It is not measured by what is convenient, but by what it costs. To love like Jesus is to step beyond the boundaries of self-preservation, beyond the threshold of reciprocity, and into a realm where sacrifice becomes the language of the heart. You have known this love. You have lived it. You have poured yourself out, not from a place of abundance, but often from a deep and weary well. You have loved when it was not returned, forgiven when it was not deserved, given when you could not afford it, not just in coins, but in energy, time, attention, and spirit. And though the world may not understand it, and though many may never see it, there is a sacred mystery unfolding in such love. That which empties you, heaven promises to refill. It is in these moments of spiritual exhaustion that the enemy whispers the loudest, "Koth, you've given too much. You've gone too far. You're running dry." But the truth, the eternal truth, is that God is nearest to the vessel that is empty. For when we have nothing left, that is when he pours in everything of himself. Love that empties is not love that dies. It is love that prepares the soul for resurrection. This kind of love, costly, consistent, unconditional, is not weakness, it is power in its most hidden form. It is a seed falling into the ground, unseen, unrewarded, but destined to rise. You see, you are never losing anything by giving your love away. You are investing it, planting it, offering it in the currency of eternity where no act of compassion is ever lost, no tear is ever wasted. You may feel depleted. Perhaps your acts of love have gone unnoticed. Perhaps the ones you gave the most to are the ones who turned away. Maybe you're walking through a season where your giving heart has left you feeling vulnerable, overlooked, or even used. But here is the mystery woven into the story of Christ. The pouring out was the preparation for the lifting up. The crucifixion came before the resurrection. The cross was not the end, but the gateway. And so it is with you. You have poured out. You have bled for others in silence. You have said yes when you could have walked away. You have stayed faithful when bitterness beckoned. And now, though you may not see it with your natural eyes, heaven is filling what was emptied. There is divine order in the process. The oil doesn't flow until the jar is empty. The bread doesn't multiply until it's broken. The wine doesn't pour until the pressing is complete. And the soul that has loved like Christ, recklessly, sacrificially, purely, is the soul that attracts the fullness of God's restoration. You are not being punished for your compassion. You are being positioned for resurrection. You are not depleted. You are being cleared out to be filled with something greater than what you lost. The more you gave, the more you made room. The more you loved, the more you invited heaven's nearness. God does not ignore those who love like his Son. He honors them. He surrounds them. He fills them with power that others do not understand. You are not just going to be restored, you are going to rise. And the rising will not be in secret. It will not be subtle. It will be undeniable. The joy will return. The strength will return. The clarity, the favor, the peace, you will see it all come rushing back into the places where you once felt empty, because love that empties in the likeness of Christ always draws the fullness of Christ in return. He never leaves you where you poured yourself out. So stand firm. Don't resent your giving. Don't regret your kindness. You loved like Jesus. That love is not weakness. It is the highest form of strength. And now, in the quietness of your weary soul, something is shifting. The pouring out has ended. The filling is beginning. The tomb is still, but the stone is loosening. The silence is deep, but resurrection is stirring. You will rise, not in spite of your love, but because of it. And when you do, you'll understand. Every time you emptied yourself, you were creating space for heaven to move. Obedience in silence is one of the most misunderstood and underappreciated forms of strength. It is easy to act boldly when applause follows. It is easy to be faithful when affirmation is immediate. But the path you chose, the quiet, obedient path of love and faithfulness without recognition, is not merely admirable, it is divine. There is a sacred echo in every silent act of obedience, one that reaches far beyond what human ears can hear. You did not serve for praise. You did not obey for status. Did not obey for status. You followed the still voice of the Spirit, even when no one stood beside you to affirm the way. And though your obedience did not make headlines, it made history in the kingdom of heaven. There is something holy about doing the right thing when no one sees. The world craves visibility, but heaven values integrity. What you did in silence, in private prayer, in unseen sacrifice, will never be forgotten by the one who sees all. You may have walked into rooms with quiet humility and left them better simply by your presence. You may have chosen peace instead of retaliation, or offered forgiveness when bitterness would have been easier. These decisions may not have earned you recognition, but they shook the unseen realm. The angels watched. The heavens recorded. Eternity noticed. What the world calls invisible, heaven calls indispensable. There are rewards that do not come in the moment. Some blessings are being stored, not denied. You did not miss your reward. You simply haven't seen it yet. The seeds you planted in quiet corners of other people's lives are growing in the soil of God's perfect timing. Every act of silent obedience was like placing a stone in the foundation of a palace, yet to be revealed. You are being built into something glorious, something eternal, and each unnoticed step of obedience was a sacred contribution to that holy construction. When Christ walked this earth, much of his greatest work was done in quiet places, in gardens, in deserts, on lonely hillsides. He taught in whispers that turned hearts. He healed with hands that did not seek attention. His obedience to the Father was never about display. It was always about love. And you, following in that example, have done the same. You have been faithful when it was hard. You have honored when others mocked. You have endured misunderstanding without losing your peace. You have chosen truth over popularity, love over vindication, faith over comfort. In a world obsessed with loudness, your quiet obedience is radical. In an age of self-promotion, your humility is revolutionary. And now, just as surely as the sun rises after a long night, your obedience is bearing fruit. The doors that seemed closed will open, not because you pushed them down, but because heaven is now swinging them wide. The breakthrough is coming, not by force, but by divine timing. The reward will not be shallow, fleeting praise. It will be the deep, eternal joy of knowing that your obedience made a way for others, prepared the ground for miracles, and brought glory to the one you loved without needing recognition. You did not waste your time obeying in silence. You built something more enduring than fame. You built legacy. You planted roots that storms cannot shake. And though the world may never fully know what you've done, heaven has etched it in eternal memory. The applause of angels resounds in response to the choices you made when no one else was watching. And now, in the fullness of time, that echo returns to you in the form of favor, strength, and a rising that cannot be denied. Your quiet yes was louder in heaven than any shout of rebellion. Your silent endurance was stronger than any display of pride. The kingdom was watching, and the king himself smiled at every step. That is why the rising is near. That is why the shift is coming. Because obedience in silence echoes in eternity, and eternity is answering back. You are about to walk into a season shaped by every yes you said in the shadows. The light will now reveal what you built in the dark. The harvest is coming. The reward is near. The Father who sees in secret is about to reward you openly. Suffering is often misunderstood, even feared, as though it signals defeat or abandonment. But when you look closer, with the eyes of the Spirit and not the flesh, you begin to realize that suffering is not a sentence, it is a stage. It is not the end of your story, but the setting in which the greatest transformations take place. You have walked through fire, you have endured the crushing weight of trials that seemed unrelenting. You have cried prayers that went unanswered in the way you hoped, faced days when getting out of bed felt like a victory, and endured nights where silence echoed louder than any voice. But none of this has been wasted. None of it has been in vain. What felt like suffering was not there to destroy you, but to prepare you for what's next. Just as a play does not begin without a stage, so too your calling could not emerge without the shaping power of difficulty. The stage of suffering is where your character is revealed, where the masks fall away, and where only truth remains. This is where the shallow things die, and the eternal things grow deep roots. It is where faith becomes more than a word, and begins to burn like a fire inside your bones. It is where hope is tested and proven, not as blind optimism, but as a steady confidence in the goodness of God, even when all evidence seems lost. You have walked through a darkness that few understand, and yet here you are, not destroyed, not defeated, but reshaped. Every painful experience, every disappointment, every unanswered question has become part of the divine process of resurrection. What you thought was breaking you was actually remaking you. The grief refined you. The loneliness taught you how to hear God's whisper. The betrayal made your love purer, stronger, less dependent on validation. The loss reminded you that your identity is not found in what you have, but in who you are becoming. Even in the moments where you felt nothing but silence from heaven, the silence was not neglect. It was strategy. It was the quiet before the unveiling, the stillness before the shift, the preparation before the rising. There is a deep paradox at work in suffering. The very things that seem like setbacks are often the soil for your greatest growth. A seed must fall to the ground and break open before new life begins. No seed wants to be buried, but it is in the burial that the miracle takes root. So it is with your pain. You were not buried, you were planted. And what was planted in pain will rise in purpose. The tears you cried in secret are watering the soil of your destiny. You will rise, and when you do, it will be with a strength that suffering alone could have forged. There is a quiet dignity to those who have suffered well. You can see it in their eyes, hear it in their voice, feel it in their presence. They carry something sacred, not the absence of wounds, but the redemption of them. They have chosen not to become bitter, but better. Better harden, but to deepen. These are the offerings that shine brightest. While others may have judged your life by what they could see, heaven has judged it by what you carried in your heart. The purity of your motives, the strength it took to keep showing up, the courage it required to remain kind in a cruel world, these are marks of greatness that the world overlooks but heaven crowns. You did not need to be known to men because you have always been known to God. And now, the time is drawing near when what was hidden will be revealed, what was stored up will be poured out, and what was remembered in heaven will be rewarded on earth. The season of forgetfulness is ending. The honor of man may have passed you by, but the favor of God is about to surround you. What you thought was lost will return in greater form. The seeds you sowed in tears will reap a harvest of joy. The faith you held in silence will now echo in your surroundings. You are not forgotten. You are not overlooked. You are not behind. You are not behind. You are exactly where heaven intended, and the time is coming when you will see the beauty of every unseen act. So do not lose heart. The recognition you longed for is not in the hands of people. It's in the hands of your Father. He has not missed a moment. He has not misplaced a memory. He has not misplaced a memory. He knows every detail, every struggle, every sacrifice. And now, because heaven remembers, you will rise. Not for attention, not for applause, but as a testimony to the faithfulness of God. You loved, you obeyed, you endured, and heaven has never forgotten. The reward is near, the lifting is at hand. The resurrection is beginning, because heaven remembers what earth forgets, and heaven has remembered you. You did not break, You were remade. There were moments when the weight of everything seemed unbearable, when the pressure was so intense you thought you wouldn't survive, when the storm within you felt stronger than the calm around you. But what looked like breaking was actually reshaping. It was not the end of your strength. It was the beginning of your transformation. The world may have seen cracks, but heaven saw the hands of the potter, molding you into something new, something stronger, something purer. The pain you went through did not destroy you. It carved away what could not carry you into your future. What once felt like ruin was actually redemption in motion. You were being redefined, not as someone who escaped struggle, but as someone who grew through it. The old pieces of who you were, the fears, the doubts, the insecurities, had to fall apart so that the real you, the one made for purpose and power, could emerge. You were not being crushed, you were being refined. Just as gold must be heated in fire to reveal its brilliance, so you were placed in the heat of trial, not to harm you, but to bring out what was hidden within you all along. You may have lost comfort, lost people, lost a version of yourself you once clung to, but what you gained is something far more eternal: depth, strength, clarity, and spiritual authority. The breaking moments revealed what shallow seasons could not. In the absence of ease, you discovered endurance. In the silence of answers, you found the voice of trust. In the shaking of what was familiar, you were anchored to what cannot be moved. You did not collapse under the weight, found your true foundation beneath it all. This new version of you, forged in trials and tested by fire, is more aligned with heaven than ever before. You've learned to stand when everything inside wanted to run. You've learned to trust when nothing made sense. And in doing so, you've become a vessel capable of carrying more glory, more grace, and more divine responsibility. The remaking process was not just about survival, it was about preparation. God was not trying to harm you. He was not distant in your pain. He was near, intricately involved in every moment, using each hardship not to destroy you, but to strip away what could not survive your next season. He was not indifferent to your tears. He caught them, counted them, and transformed them into the very water that would cause new growth. Every crack in your heart became a place where light could now shine through. Every piece that fell was a part that could no longer carry the weight of who you're becoming. You were being sanctified, not shattered, and now, having walked through that valley, you carry something that cannot be faked: authentic power. You speak not from theory, but from experience. You love not out of ease, but out of divine strength. You have compassion, not because life was soft, but because you know the ache of breaking and the miracle of rising. This version of you is not fragile, it is fierce with the wisdom of God. You were not disqualified by your pain, you were commissioned through it. The storm didn't steal your calling, it sharpened it. And now you carry a depth of authority that only comes from walking through the fire and coming out with faith intact. There is beauty in this new creation. The old has gone, not in loss, but in exchange. What was temporal has been replaced by what is eternal. What was weak has been replaced by what is unshakable. You do not carry the same wounds you once did. They have become scars, and those scars now tell a story of grace, endurance, and unrelenting love. Where you were once unsure, you are now steadfast. Where you were once broken, you are now whole in a deeper, more sacred way. This is not a lesser version of you. This is the real you, the one who was always hidden beneath the noise, now revealed through fire. So do not regret the breaking. Do not despise the season that reshaped you. It may not have felt holy, but it was sacred. It may not have looked beautiful at the time, but it birthed something glorious. You didn't break down, you broke open. And now you're walking not just in healing, but in transformation. The rising you're stepping into is not a return to who you were, it's an unveiling of who you were always meant to be. You were remade by grace, and what God remakes, He uses for His glory. The resurrection power is now yours. It It is not a distant hope reserved only for the end of time, nor is it locked away in some far-off realm, waiting for a moment of divine permission. That same power that raised Jesus from the grave, that shook the earth and rolled away the stone, that reversed what seemed final, is already stirring within you. It lives in your spirit, it breathes in your obedience, and it moves through your surrender. You are not waiting for power to come. You are learning to recognize that it has already been placed inside of you. You have walked through death-like seasons, places where dreams died, where identity seemed to crumble, and where hope flickered like a weak flame. But what felt like an end was never meant to be final. It was the setup for a holy uprising, and you are the one chosen to rise. You have endured much, you have waited long, and through it all, you have not lost your capacity to believe. That alone is a miracle. Many walked away. Many gave in. But you stayed, you prayed, you hoped in silence, you carried burdens no one knew and fought battles no one saw. And now, as the dust begins to settle and the silence begins to break, you are starting to realize that something is shifting. It is not just your circumstances that are about to change. It is you. The transformation is already underway. You are no longer the same person who entered the fire. You are rising with a deeper authority, with a steadier faith, with a clearer vision. You are not coming out empty-handed. You are coming out carrying power. This resurrection power does not merely restore you to where you once were. It elevates you beyond what you imagined. It does not just bring life back to what was dead. It makes it better, stronger, and more aligned with heaven's purpose. You are not going backward. You are not being recycled. You are being renewed, reformed, and recommissioned. Every part of your story is now being gathered and redeemed. The pain, the waiting, the brokenness, it is all being restructured into a testimony that carries weight. This is not the end of your journey. It is the beginning of your rising. And the power you feel stirring inside is not pride, not fantasy, but resurrection reality. The same power that called Jesus forth from the tomb is now calling you forward. And just as the grave could not hold him, the past cannot hold you. The shame, the regrets, the losses, the lies, they do not have authority anymore. You are being pulled by purpose now. You are being propelled by divine design. You are stepping into a moment that was written long ago, crafted for you before time began. The grave clothes of your former season are falling off, and in their place comes a garment of praise, a robe of righteousness, and the mantle of a new mission. This resurrection power also gives you the ability to speak life where there has been silence. You no longer wait for others to validate your voice. You no longer need circumstances to align before you believe. You now walk in a higher understanding that you were created to carry God's glory and reflect His victory. This power allows you to forgive what once haunted you, to heal what once wounded you, to declare peace in places where fear used to reign. You are not a survivor. You are a resurrected one, and resurrected ones do not live in reaction. They live in revelation. They live in revelation. They do not echo the past. They announce the future. Because the power lives in you, nothing can truly defeat you. Yes, you will still face hardship, but you will not face it the same way. You walk differently now. You speak differently. You believe differently. Because resurrection isn't just an event, it's a way of life. It is a constant rising, a daily victory, a continual transformation. And as you keep moving forward, you'll begin to see this power, not just in your own life, but flowing through your life. Others will feel it. They will hear the authority in your words, the kindness in your actions, the fire in your convictions. You will become a living witness that resurrection isn't theory. It is truth, and you are the proof. So walk boldly, stand firmly, speak freely, rise fully. You are not waiting to rise, you are already rising. The stone is already rolled away. The tomb is already behind you. The power is already within you, and your story is no longer about what was lost. It's about what is coming to life. The resurrection power is now yours, and it is leading you into a future far greater than your past. You don't need permission to rise. Heaven has already declared it. Now go, live like someone who is risen.